वहाँ तो फिर भेजा हुआ ना, एक भी क्वेश्चन एक भी
ceremony, the chief guest of this session, our Secretary Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs. We are shortly waiting his coming, and till the time, till the time. Just we want to apprise you that what is the process of Swachh Survekshan this year. As you all know, the Swachh Survekshan was in 4 phases. Everything will be covered in full detail by our Joint Secretary in her subsequent PPT. Till then, just want to explain you that your first phase, 3 phases are already complete. Your on-call validation of cities, 2 rounds of on-call validation, and the third round, which was introduced this year, it was an intensive monitoring of intensive validation of your processing facility, and it is also carrying a very good weightage in this year's survection. So the point here is to mention you that the processing of the waste is of paramount importance for all the cities. So, as in SBM2 also, we are sanctioning projects, and so all urban local bodies are requested to please go through your processes. You initiate the process of procurement, you initiate the process of creating infrastructure, because it is only going to fetch you higher ranks in subsequent and this year's survection as well. So we will request any till our chief guest comes, if any of the state mission director has any small afternoon, sir. Good afternoon, everyone in this room, and all the mission directors who have joined virtually with us. I welcome our Secretary, Sri Manoj Joshi, sir. I welcome Ms. Rupa Mishra, Joint Secretary and Mission Director, Principal Secretary, Urban Development of all the states, State Mission Director, and the participants from the cities. Today we are here for the launch of field assessment of Swachh Survekshan 2023, and this is the 8th edition of Swachh Survekshan. We have started with a humble beginning of 73 cities. It was a pilot project in 2016, and now the survekshan has evolved through various phases, and this year it's a 8th survekshan, which is going to be started from 1st July. So before we start, I request our mission director, Ms. Rupa Mishra, to make a presentation about the 2023, how we are going to execute this survekshan this year.
Thank you, Bharat. Respected Secretary Mohan, officers of all state governments, and participating ULPs. Sir, we are currently live on YouTube, and there are more than 1,000 participants who have joined from different cities who are watching this program. This is a very, very important stage of Swachh Survekshan. Everybody awaits with great eagerness for the field validation to begin, and for the 8th time consecutively, we will be starting the field validation, which is going to be the final phase of Swachh Survekshan 23, which for the first time had a 4-phased assessment, unlike previous survekshans, which had a 3-quarter assessment. So this being the background, I would also like to remind everybody that this survekshan has a theme. Like every year, we have a particular theme. The theme for Survekshan 2023 was Waste to Wealth, because co-terminus with Swachh Bharat 2.0, the focus has been on scientific processing of solid and liquid waste. As I was just mentioning, we started this journey, as Vinayji was just mentioning, we started this journey in 2016 with a sample assessment of 73 cities, and the journey has been quite remarkable. We have now reached 4,800 plus cities. 2023 with the theme of waste to wealth will cover all the cities of the country, and every year we have a different theme, and that also is aligned to the focus of that year, which means Survekshan has been an evolving process, and it has been possible because of the cooperation of the state governments and the cities. So for this year, the cities will be assessed on 46 indicators. For the first time, it's also going to be difficult because it's going to be monsoon when our assessors will hit the ground. There will be more than 3,000 assessors that will travel across the country. The entire survey is a digital tool, as you are aware, and the assessment will be much beyond visible city cleanliness. So the theme being waste to wealth, a very high weightage goes to source segregation, door-to-door collection, and solid waste processing. In addition to that, we've also kept key focus areas, which will be legacy dump site remediation, single-use plastic management in the city, and very importantly, Safai Mitra Suraksha, with specific focus on mechanized desludging of septic tanks and sewers. As we have seen this journey evolve from 73 cities to 4,800 cities, the architecture of Swachh Survekshan heavily relies on the experience of citizens vis-à-vis city cleanliness. And there are various channels through which citizens' feedback and citizens' perception is captured. Last year, Survekshan 2022 engaged with around 9 crore citizens. And this time, it is assessed and estimated that around 10 crore citizen feedback will be captured during this very elaborate exercise. Our evaluation parameters, as all states and cities know, are in 3 broad pillars. The first pillar, very important, is a 51% weightage, which is service level progress, which is like source segregation, door-to-door collection, basic processing, etc. 26% is our certification, which is GFC and ODF, and 23% is of citizens' voice. And this is where the voice of the 10 crore citizen will be weighing the marks. In these across these 3 broad parameters, there are sub-parameters also. Of course, I did mention that there are in all 46 indicators. Now, 46 indicators are within these broad parameters. Under service level progress, as you can see, the high weightage goes to processing and disposal with a maximum weightage of 20%, followed by segregated collection, visible cleanliness, and thereafter by used water management and Safai Mitra Suraksha. Similarly, for certification, we have garbage-free cities with a 14% of marks and ODF certification for 12%. For citizen voice, there are 3 broad components, which is direct citizen engagement, citizen feedback vis-à-vis grievance redressal, Swachhata app, MyGov portals, etc., and then innovation and best practices to connect to citizen to mobilize Swachhata in cities. This is the overall sub-parameter across which our assessors will be assessing. As everybody is aware, for the first time, we have tried a 4-phased assessment. We started off this year with the phase 1, which was an on-call validation. It was launched, if you remember, in the month of May last year. We've successfully conducted all the 3 phases. Thereafter, normally, instead of embarking immediately on phase 4, we waited for the acute heat conditions to slightly subside, and we are now starting our field verification from the 1st of July. Now, we've done a few amendments in the toolkit, basis our experience, basis our interaction with all of you, feedback received from various cities, and certain concerns that came from smaller cities. Certain things have been brought in as amendments. I will try to highlight the important ones of those. First is, earlier, we used to give a composite marking for segregation and door-to-door collection. As a result, if you look at the dashboard today, it shows 98% segregated door-to-door collection, because there was no way of bifurcating this data. This time, it is very important that we know what is the actual segregation so that we improve for waste processing. So this parameter is going to be assessed separately, which will be segregation and D2D. Second, construction and demolition waste processing was assessed for all cities, including the small cities. Now, this is not feasible. Therefore, this year, we will be assessing construction demolition waste processing only for the cities that are under the National Clean Air Program and which have more than 5 lakh population cities, which is 155 cities in the country. Whereas the small cities will just be assessed on a basic segregation and keeping the construction waste in a separate way rather than mixing it with the other waste. It has been simplified. The third thing is we have very complicated bands of assessment for cities. 15% segregation, you get so much mark. 20% segregation, you get so much mark. 25% segregation, you get so much mark. Truly zeroing down whether it's a 15% segregation or a 25% segregation, everybody would agree that it is a very, very difficult job and is subjective many times. Therefore, we have simplified the bands of assessment to extremely broad bands which are similar to GFC's star rating protocol. So this will ease the process for various cities and it will also reduce the subjectivity, if at all it is there, in the assessment. The fourth important thing, which I've already mentioned, is a 2 times increase for Safai Mitra Suraksha. In Safai Mitra Suraksha, which is also a national priority, we will be assessing what is the mechanized facility which is there with the city, either of their own or through private services of leasing or outsourcing of services. In addition, we will also be assessing what is the manpower, whether manpower is being trained, whether public is being made aware that informal sector and unsafe practices into septic tank sewer cleaning is prohibited as per law, whether there is a designated number that people can call up and ask for desludging services, and whether there has been enough IC around it. So these simple steps will be assessed for all cities and the marks have been increased for that. Sorry. The next important modification which has been done is clean rivers is again a national priority. Earlier, for Ganga towns and for river towns, we were assessing the cleanliness of only the ghats. This time, assessment of river towns will be an assessment of the overall waste processing and sanitation and not just a ghat verification. The next important change, which is going to heavily impact positively the smaller cities, is we used to capture data for citizens' grievance and feedback primarily basis Swachhata app. And the rough figures of the country is as follows. Swachhata app as an app is used by primarily 3,800 cities, with remaining cities using some form of their own app. So around 700 have their own local apps, around 3,800 were using Swachhata app. Now this looks good, but when we deep dived into the problem, we saw that while they have registered on Swachhata app, throughout the year in small cities, people have used the app only once, twice, because people have a tendency to reach out to the local service provider or the ward inspector or the sanitary inspector for grievance redressal rather than going to an app and lodging the complaints. Therefore, be it a local app, be it a grievance register, be it whichever form by which you are addressing grievance redressal will be captured from this year onwards. And the seventh important amendment is when we were ranking the states, the state performance was primarily based on few things as to whether the state is driving an e-procurement, whether the state has given some kind of a protocol directive for Safai Mitra Suraksha, etc. This time, the state ranking will be rated with 2 added parameters. The first parameter being the cleanliness of a state will be an aggregate of cleanliness of the city, number 1. Number two, there will be an added parameter which will show as to what are the state initiatives that are also driving sanitation. For example, does the state have a fecal sludge management policy? Is it made mandatory by the state wherein ULBs are incorporating in the bylaws empanelment or registration of the operators who are operating in fecal sludge? Is there a provision that septic tanks that are being constructed with new building plan approvals are as per the BIS standards, so on and so forth. So state-led initiatives will also be an added parameter when we will do the assessment of the states. So these are few of the key amendments. All of it will be shared with you in great detail. The next important thing is we received feedback as to how tedious an exercise survection is gradually proving to be because it is growing in size and proportion for especially the smaller cities that do not have PMUs, consultants, extra hands to help them fill up the data. Therefore, we have heavily reduced the amount of documentation that will be required to be uploaded. Earlier, survection required 47 declarations. We have reduced it to 4. Survection required 85 number of compulsory documents. We have reduced it to again 4. There were 13 optional documents that is optional for you, so we've got nothing to say. So total number of document requirement in SS2023 is only for 8 parameters and 8 documents, and we are not even asking you to upload 3 months, 4 months logbook, but just one sheet declaration signed by the competent authority, which is an abstract and aggregate of the figure. This is a modification, this is a change which has been brought because Secretary Mahua was of the very firm view that we have made survection possibly a little more paper heavy, even though it's a digital platform, but the requirement of evidence is heavy. Therefore, complying to his instructions, we have brought down the entire document requirement. And of course, the documents, the logbooks will be there in the field. So when assessors go, they will verify it physically. But data uploading of voluminous documents have been drastically brought down for SS2023. The next important thing is citizen feedback. This again is going to start from 1st of July. As everybody is aware, all platforms will go live starting from MyGov, Swachhta app, Vote for Your City app and Vote for Your City portal with the QR code which will be there on the Survekshan Swachhta portal as well. So we will request you, like in previous years, to widely publicize and disseminate these platforms and QR codes like the way you do it every year. For quality assurance, we have given high emphasis this year because the scale is tremendous. All cities are participating. The competition is very high, which is also very good. Therefore, it is our responsibility to ensure quality in this third-party verification. For that, the assessment agency will take 5 primary activities as part of its QA. There is a very rigorous training which is being done by the teams, and in that, officers from Mahua are also attending all the training programs to ensure that proper dissemination of training happens. Second, as a strict policy, no resident citizen will be the assessor of the same city. There will be a swapping of cities, and to have impartiality and objectivity, this will be across the board. Third, every assessor movement will be by way of the GPS monitoring, which has been embedded with the mobile phone. Therefore, we will be also seeing as to which are the areas that our assessors are touching base. Fourth important point is there will be 2 layers of quality check of evidences. If the assessor is checking something on the ground and is reporting it, after that, there will be 2 further levels of quality check that will be brought in, so that objectivity and the impartiality of assessment is maintained. Other than that, there will also be a crack team which will be there by the assessment agency that does surprise visits to different states with or without complaints and feedback so that the seriousness of the entire survection is maintained. In addition to the measures that are to be taken by the assessment agency, this time, for the first time, we have also brought in certain measures. The first thing we have done is there are single point of contact officers who are now assigned different states. You must have already received your SPO, your single point of contact officers for your respective states 3 days back in a letter which I have sent to all the states. Not only that, we have also created a SOP because we receive queries, we receive complaints, we receive feedback. So be it queries or complaints or feedback, we will be giving highest priority to address those. So all these queries, complaints and feedback will be raised to your SPOCs, who will thereafter, following a due procedure, accordingly do the redressal or required action on the same. The times are fixed and the process in Mahua is also fixed for that. So please be assured that each feedback or query or complaint that you raise will be given the highest priority. In addition, we will also be sending various teams for surprise visits. Now, the most important thing is transparency in Swachh Survekshan, and I would strongly request each one of you to please appreciate the kind of gigantic effort that goes in this. Every assessor assessment will be shared online with you on Swachhata. Please have a look at it. And in fact, time is given for the city to respond back to the observation of the assessor. There cannot be anything more transparent than this. So please have a look at the assessment which is shared to you. If you have anything to contest that, or if you think you need something to substantiate what is being said to which you don't agree, you must respond immediately so that Swachhatam portal becomes a single point of contact between you and between us and the assessors, so that this data is therefore available with everyone. So you are seeing what is the assessor's data. There is nothing which is being done in closed. Thereafter, I will also share another thing. You must be aware already that every single assessment, everything, single rank, the scores, the marking, your comparative performance, all of it is available in public domain on the dashboard. However, during Secretary's visit, during our interactions with states, it is being observed that barely this is being used by officers. Not just city officers don't have a look at it, even state government is not having a look at it, using it as a base for reviews and discussions. I will sincerely request that please use this dashboard. You have state-wise summary, you have city report card, you have previous survection result comparison, you have the entire ranking for the state and for the country. Please use it to see where you stand in SS 2022. You might not agree with many of the assessment scores, but it is important to see how your performance looks to a third-party independent agency. For example, this is how the city report card would look like. Every parameter which is important, starting from door-to-door collection, source segregation, waste generation, the remediation of dump sites, residential area cleanliness, market area cleanliness, drains, public toilets, grievance. Vis-a-vis the citizen feedback, 9 crore citizens gave a feedback in SS 2022. This is the feedback of citizens. So please have a look at this. Similarly, every city as well as every state has a dashboard which shows clearly how does your SS 2022 assessment stand vis-a-vis your claims on Swachhata. So please have a look at this. This is going to help us together to improve. Similarly, if we look at SS 2022 and we look at the cumulative scorings, all of it is there on dashboard. There are these states where more than 50% ULPs have less than 10% door-to-door collection. Similarly, the band is available for all cities of your own state, which means this can actually help us strengthen our door-to-door collection, because city-wise assessment by a third party would there be in front of you. Similarly, for source segregation, all northeast states and J&K, Kerala, Ladakh, third party says that more than 50% of the cities have less than 10% segregation, which means we have to give a focus there. Similarly, more than 80% of the ULBs have less than 10% processing in these states. So I would request each one of you that it is an enormous effort and activity of manpower, resources, technical involvement, citizen involvement, which we have been doing for 8 years. And all this data is there in public platform. You don't need a login ID to even see it. Public can see it. Please make use of this data for bringing course corrections and improvements. And at the end of it, I would like to reiterate the timelines of SS 2023. We have already started the assessor training. The field work will start from 1st of July. We expect to complete it, of course, depending on the monsoon, within exactly 1 month. The Ganga towns will be given a special focus because of a separate category of assessment that they are in. Citizen feedback starts from 1st of July. We'll keep the portals open till 15th of August. The results will be finalized by August 2023, and like every year, we expect the awards ceremony to happen in the month of October 23. So this is a brief of SS 2023. Now I would request Secretary Mahua to please launch the field work of phase 4 of SS 2023.
Now I request Secretary Sir to kindly say a few words on this.
Thank you. Rupa has made a very detailed presentation. We are happy to embark further on Swachh Survekshan. Last many years, Swachh Survekshan has been highlight of Swachh Bharat mission and the work being done by some of the leading cities. We will continue that path. At the same time, I think we are making an effort to make it easier and useful for smaller and medium-sized cities also, cities which are not so such, and where probably in the country now more focus is required. Some effort has been made in that direction. we keep making effort in that direction so that Swachh Survekshan continues to be a management tool for improvement in cities. Uh, There are cities which are at different levels of Swachhata. Some are very clean and model for others where people keep visiting to see those cities. And then there are cities which are somehow able to manage to lift garbage and not to show them at the streets. Most of the cities in the country have reached that level where you don't see garbage in the marketplace. There are cities where you still do it, but then there are most of the cities you don't see garbage in the streets or in the markets. That is a remarkable achievement. But waste processing, we need to do far more. It requires segregation, proper processing of wet waste, dry waste. Similarly, the new mission which we embarked upon, manhole to machine hole, requires a lot of effort at this part of the cities and states. We continue to make that effort, and I would urge all the states to motivate the cities which are at the bottom the most. I think if you want the whole country to achieve a level which Prime Minister has been asking us to do, then we should make more effort on the smaller cities, on the medium-sized cities, and the cities which have not made so much effort till now. So I hope Swachh Survekshan motivates all the cities to do that, and we continue to embark on that journey and make it much easier for everyone to participate in this effort, not just few cities who have done remarkably well and are role model for the rest of the country. All the best for this round of Swachh Survekshan. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. This is for the information of all that always secretaries are always giving us a guidance how to make it more practicable. So you might have seen some of the initiative has been taken out of his direction. So he is a constant source of inspiration for us to make the system very practical and implementable. So with this, I thank our secretary sir for giving his valuable time, and we really apologize for changing the time as sir has some important meeting today from 3:30. So I thank all the principal secretary, all the SMDs, all the executive officers, our team at Mahua, PMUs, all the participants. Thank you. Thank you.
All the best.
And all the best for from 1st July.